Hello everyone and welcome back to Torchlight 2. Last time we finished clearing the temple steps, so now let's enter the Wellspring Temple where we have to protect the Guardian of Water, possibly, who might be under attack. And in case anyone's missed the general story so far, we are following the Alchemist, who's basically, he was one of the playable classes in Torchlight 1. And this particular the Alchemist has gone, he's gone insane. Essentially, he's been possessed by the Heart of Ordrak, who was the final boss in the first game. But even as we killed him, the darkness in his heart still prevailed, and so he's now possessed the Alchemist, who we don't quite know why, but he's destroying things. Okay. It's a real chest and not even trapped. Very nice. Okay, I don't think I explained that yet. Some enemies, which we've already encountered, and I probably explained it, but just in case, some enemies have shields, which protect them quite well, but I think once I've done a certain amount of damage to them, or to the shields, so the shields have absorbed a certain amount, the shields get shattered, and obviously a shattered shield is kind of useless. So, unidentified chest armor. Ugh. It is nice. I just need level 15, which is 4 levels away. I will use this because dexterity and health are more useful than focus and strength, I think. Oh, and here we have a different type of ember. So as you notice, these here have a white name, and they are Flame, Ice, Spark, and Venom. They basically, as you can see, they add elemental damage or elemental armor. The Blood Ember spec is one of 3 types of rare socketables. Well, there's more rare ones, but they are the ones that occur in different tiers and such. And they have varied effect. In this case, health regen and, what was it, physical damage over time on the weapon. And since apparently someone on the forums, I noticed that a while ago on the Torchlight 2 forums, someone went on a bit of a rant saying he didn't understand what physical damage over time was supposed to mean. And, well, this is pretty much my interpretation. Essentially, I'd say it's bleeding damage. And wow, we have a lot going on right here. So, we have a boss and tons of stuff that he's summoned. Oh, I think I might just die here, actually. Nope, I'm fine. Just lots and lots of stuff. But I'm handling it, don't worry. Okay. Okay. Wow. That was intense. Hope it didn't get too laggy. If it does, I can reduce the quality some. I'm currently playing on pretty much the highest settings. Because somehow I think my PC should really be able to handle that. Considering it is not a top-notch game graphics-wise, and yeah, but just to put things in perspective, I could play Skyrim and record Skyrim on almost the highest possible settings. I think I reduced the anti-aliasing a little bit, believe. but pretty much the highest settings, and I could still play at 60 FPS while recording. And here I'm actually playing on almost the highest settings as well. And definitely getting frame drops, considerable ones actually. Okay, why don't you just, ouch, die? Thank you. And now I can deal with these little Fellwalker things. Good. And I'm actually having trouble playing and recording at the same time. And actually I do get the frame drops if I'm just playing and not recording as well, so yeah. Just to show you, well, not really how badly the game is programmed, just how inefficient they made some of their code. Okay, I'll show you my loot in just a second. I think I'm going the right way here, which I don't really want, but oh well. I'll just go back to earlier parts. This looks mimicky. Nope. As I said, in this game, I at least... Sometimes you can tell which chests are mimics, but far less reliably than in the first game. If I had some sort of AoE thing, I could check without trying to open them, but then might as well try to open them and check that way, and this was not the right path to go on. Oh, convenient. Let's put all of this junk onto my pet and send it to town. I just found also a Void Ember spec and a Great Axe. Okay. A Void Ember spec is similar to the Blood Ember spec. It has more varied abilities. And not all Blood Ember specs, for example, will give me health recovery on my armor or trinkets. Not all Void Ember specs will have mana stolen on hit on weapons. Stuff like that. They have a list of possible effects, and one of them gets chosen at random. And eventually I will have to go back to town, because I am filling up on stuff that I want to keep. Oops. These bombs, well, they should be self-explanatory. A lot of the gameplay is very intuitive, and it's really not a very complex game. I mean, there's always the choice of sort of min-maxing, and you always have the option of trying to build the ideal character, but the basic gameplay is pretty much as simple as it was in the first game, even though they added some features. There's nothing too complicated to them. Okay. My pet does certainly take a while to travel to town. I actually thought it would not be quite as long at this point, but apparently it is, so... Okay, bringing me 1,000 gold. For now I will probably be accumulating a fair amount of gold. That will change drastically at some point in Act 2. Assuming I'm still playing on the same character then. But I don't want to spoil things too much, so you will have to wait until then to find out why I will become very poor at that point. In the first game rather, if you remember, if you watched that, I was playing on very hard, so I spend most of my money on just random stuff pretty much all the time in that playthrough, because my preferred method of resurrecting when I died was to resurrect at the entrance of the level, which basically meant I would not lose experience or fame, but I would lose gold. And stairs down. And I choose that, so I choose that option because it's the most convenient. Resurrecting a town is a huge hassle, and I don't like losing experience. But because the gold you have to pay essentially is 10% of just your total gold, I try to keep my total gold quite low, so that these 10% costs would not be as troubling. Now I'm playing on normal difficulty here, which means I may and almost certainly will die. I'm not playing a defensive build at all, so it's entirely possible that I will expire from time to time, but not nearly as often, of course, as I would on very hard, or I think it's called elite in this game, but definitely won't die as often as if I were playing on the highest difficulty. Oh dear, and another boss. Wow, frame rate. Ouch. I can now heal my pet by just clicking on its health bar, which is also very convenient. It still works if I just hit shift and thank you. Shift and the potion key, whatever I happen to have it set to. I think it's currently, if I press Z or 1. That will work. And again, you can tell that the game was developed on English keyboards on the QWERTY setup. The thing about that is secret room. You find them in dungeons from time to time. Sometimes they are easy to miss, sometimes they are pretty obvious. What I was gonna say, obviously keyboards are arranged in very specific patterns, the keys on your keyboard. And they are designed or arranged in such a way that on average you have the potentially highest typing speed in, well, probably in English. And so the keys are arranged that you don't have all the commonly used letters on one spot, so there actually has gone a lot of thought into arranging these keys, and just the QWERTY design is the one that's used most commonly in English-speaking countries. There are different layouts, of course. But the most noticeable thing, obviously, is that if you're typing in a different language, then you will need different key arrangements, or whichever key arrangement is ideal for English is not going to be ideal in another language, possibly. Which is why... Nope, Great Axe I don't like. Giving me more mana, might as well. Vitality, mana recovery, cast speed. Fine. I can, by the way, I can display my helmet, I just usually have it turned off. because helmets somehow don't really look that cool. Okay, identify cloven hoof. Okay, I've got 2 of those as well. Nice. Okay, the belt is pretty much a must-have. Poison damage not so much, but over 100 health I gain from this, so that's a no-brainer. The point I was really getting at is that German keyboards don't have QWERTY as the sort of layout name. They don't have that as their top row beginning letters, because the letter Y is not used very much at all. And by the way, this is one of the urns which open secret runes. It's not used very much at all in the German language. If you know Scrabble, that game where well, Scrabble, the word game. Pretty sure you know it. If you don't, just look it up. But essentially, letters are worth more points if they are more rare in the language, and Y is one of the 10-point letters in the German version of Scrabble. So just to give you an idea of how common that letter is in the German language, most words that have it are foreign words that have basically been imported into the language. Stuff like Yeti or yen, the I think Japanese currency. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to put the Y in the top row, which is apparently a location where you want a fairly common letter. So Y and Z have basically swapped positions on German keyboards, which is why for a British keyboard having X and Z as the short keys for mana and health respectively is good, because they will be right under the WASD keys, which are not used for movement in this game. But if you have your hand kind of on the number bar to hit your skills, Y and Z, in my case, Y and X, I mean, in my case, and Z and X in an English keyboard's case, are really quite easily in range. But as I said, of course, that doesn't really apply to me, so for me having that the health potion set to Z is actually inconvenient, because the Z's in a different location. And there's been a sort of development with this sort of thing in say mainstream software. In the very old days, there wasn't really much of I think API is probably the right word. There wasn't much of a common interface for how to translate keyboard commands to something that a program would understand. So if you hit a key on your keyboard, it wouldn't send... The computer would only know that which particular key had been hit, so the key which is, I don't know, the second from the left in the third row, something along those lines. And so in very old programs, it's quite common that if I hit the Y key on my keyboard, the one that has the Y on it, that would be a Z on an English keyboard, so the program actually thinks I typed Z. Okay, one thing to notice here, skills basically unlock different tiers as you progress. So if the skill gets stronger every skill point you invest, but every 5 skill points it gains a major bonus, if you like. So in this case, Howl, if I just level it up, basically the amount that the enemy is being debuffed by increases, but at 5, 10 and 15 skill points, the range increases. So in this case, the range has now increased to 7.5 meters. And they are not always that similar. Now some skills, it just increases one of the attributes of the skill But on some it actually has different effects for every tier. And this only applies to active skills, not to passive ones. Passive skills just grow stronger, they don't have tiers. And then, yeah, concerning the keyboard thing, we're about to face our first boss, by the way, but it's not too impressive of a fight. And you can glitch him, but I won't show you how to do that. It's quite risky, but basically, if you have a ranged class, you can make this fight a lot easier on yourself. Here we have him, General Grell. And I do like to keep him debuffed. He has some very nice attacks, he is quite cool. Though of course not, strictly speaking, dangerous. But yeah, I noticed this, for example, I sometimes play around with an old AI program called Rector, R-A-C-T-E-R, which is it's very difficult to find these days because it's an ancient AI. It's from 1985 maybe, so it's approaching its 30-year anniversary, I think. Really, really ancient. And that program still gets my keys confused, so I actually need to exchange Z and Y, and that's not too bad. What's more confusing is all these special characters like question mark and such. They're differently located on my keyboard as well, making it quite difficult. We'll check the boss loot in just a second, don't worry. We have a boss chest as well, which usually doesn't contain very much interesting stuff, I found. But okay, here we have Commander Vale, the Vanquisher, and the Guardian of Water. But we'll talk to those next time. Cliffhanger, ta-da! See you soon, bye bye!